let me give the contrary argument so that we can have some, even though I don't agree with it. I just want to give the contrary argument real quickly, is that this lessening, some people are saying that this lessening of restrictions, it not only applies to corporations, but it also applies to labor unions and environmentalist groups and stuff like that. So, now where corporations have unlimited spending, they can use pass-through organizations to, spend as much money wherever they want in elections. So can labor unions, environmentalists, and other organized groups of citizens. And that's a counter-argument that I saw somewhere. I think it's not valid, though.
Now we can finally see the unfettered power of the Sierra Club.
Exactly. That's right. Soon PETA will be deciding elections.
Right, that's right, exactly. I remember the right must be just terrified of PETA right now and thinking what they're going to do with all their thousands.
Yeah. Walmart Workers United is going to decide the next presidential election. Oh wait, they don't even exist. Seriously, I mean, I actually do have a question for you guys, because I've seen that argument, but I've also seen people saying that this decision doesn't even actually apply to unions, but that then the unions will be able to put on their ads and then theoretically get in trouble for it and go to the courts and say, well, if corporations can do it, then we should be able to as well. Do you guys know anything about the details on that? Is that true, or?
No, actually, whenever I've heard about it, it was like a totally even playing field. But I mean, kind of in the sense of that exchange from the Princess Bride, where the guy says, "Oh, so I'll put down my sword, and you'll put down your rock, and we'll try to kill each other like civilized people." It's just not going to be a fair fight. And I mean, I've heard all kinds of justifications from the right-hand side, saying, for example, that there's been so much negative press for business that they deserve a right to, they deserve the opportunity to defend themselves because the liberal slanted media is making it so hard to conduct business now. I've actually heard this.
Yeah, I've seen that talking point parroted on YouTube comments.
And in reality, though, just due to the basic structure of our economy, polluting industries will always be able to outspend environmentalists. Defense contractors will always be able to outspend pro-peace troops, and employers will always be able to outspend unions. I mean, and by large orders of magnitude, and that's just due to the basic structure of the capitalist economy. That's what we have to have a checks and balances against. And and while I'm sympathetic somewhat to the idea that organizations representing groups of people should have free speech, or I think that that's great in principle, but in practice, in aggregate, these organizations that purport to represent groups of people aren't really representing their interests and function, and just due to the basic structure of capitalism, it's always going to be a tilted playing field.
Well, I mean, I think that people should be able to organize to change things in government, but I don't think that an organization whose purpose is to make money should have that same power to speak and to attempt to change the government. I mean, that's not business. Public advocacy should not be a business. It just shouldn't. It's not the way you should be making money as a corporation. And nowadays, that really is it's a huge problem. Corporations really are, investing in government and making returns on it. And I think that absolutely needs to be stopped.
Exactly. Corporations aren't entities that represent the interests of people or shareholders. They're simply mechanisms that try to make as much money as possible by any means possible, and the legal structure of them obligates them to try to do that.
So I've seen various people talking about the whole notion of like having a constitutional amendment to essentially depersonify corporations, to make it clear that the protections that exist in the Constitution are there for people, not corporations. What do you guys think of like that notion? Because I mean, it seems like it is a way in which to address, the core problem here. But then again, once you open up, the can of worms that's known as a constitutional convention, anything can come out of that. Once you've basically kind of opened up the rule book and taken out your pencil and eraser, you can make any change you want. So, thoughts from you guys on that?
Do you think a constitutional amendment is actually necessary for that? Or just a Supreme Court that isn't, that doesn't have its head up its ass? I mean, I don't think that the Constitution does protect them as people.
They're on there till they die.
See, you have a growing body of legal opinion now, though, that supports that idea. So I think that if you want to take it out, and you want to take out all manifestations of it, you have to go to the root. And I don't think you're going to get something like that passed through Congress, and it may end up being declared unconstitutional anyway, unless it's actually put in as a constitutional amendment. I don't know. I mean, I guess this is the point where I wish we had Glenn Greenwald on the program, or some other constitutional lawyer. But I'm just concerned that you need to get to the root of the problem, and you need to now take out this body of work, which is all kind of saying the same thing, that these corporations need to be treated as people within the law.
Yeah, but I mean, theirs isn't the only voice on this issue. I mean, just, for example, McCain-Feingold and the laws restricting corporate donations that have been going back for 100 years. This is something that, I mean, for 100 years it was constitutional. Then from one day to the next it's not. And now we have to say, well, the only way to change that is by changing the Constitution. I don't know. I think that this decision was a bad decision. I mean, I think that I know that the Supreme Court and everything, but I think they're wrong.
Bad decision or not, I mean, either just the way the system works is that either you got to have new justices or you got to change the Constitution. Or clarify the Constitution, maybe.
And I guess the point that I'm making is that there's been a certain incremental aspect to this decision. This is sort of like the latest manifestation of a movement, and the core of the movement, the place where it gets all of its kind of legal strength, is in identifying corporations as being people and giving them the same rights, when they're clearly, because of their nature, they are superior to people. So what you're doing is you're kind of legalizing their status as super, not heroes, but I guess super villains. But I don't like to be like that pejorative about it. As super abled entities within our political sphere, because of, and I went through some of this in a video that I did recently, but because of the fact that they're kind of so myopic in their agenda. I mean, they don't care about a lot. They only care about the things that affect them, and the things that affect them are fairly limited. They just want to make sure that they get to continue on doing what they're doing without any kind of government intervention whatsoever. And as long as they can do that's like goal one.
It's more than that, though, Zach. I mean, they're not just gonna, when they start acting to influence the government, we've seen that they don't stop at deregulation. It starts with deregulation, but then they say, hand us all your money. Hand us contracts, hand us your money, I mean, bailouts, all that stuff. I mean, it's not just let us do business however we please. It's also, hey, you guys have a lot of taxpayer money there. Maybe you should give us some, you know?
Well, included in how we please is,
But I think Zach's still right on the mark that corporate personhood is, is what the target should be in this instance.